PRISM program prevented at least one terror attack with this guy Najib Bouazizi. Does that sway you at all? I mean, is that an argument for this kind of surveillance?
No. First of all, the premise makes absolutely no sense. This is the same argument that we used to have during the Bush years when they got caught eavesdropping on the conversations of Americans without first going to the FISA court and getting warrants. And they would say, well, this program stopped terrorist attacks. But it never made any sense, because if they actually had a terrorist in sight, they could have just gone to the FISA court, gotten a warrant, presented evidence that this person was a terrorist, and then eavesdropped anyway. Exactly the same is true here. If the government really believes that somebody is engaged in terrorist activity, they could go to the FISA court, or they could go to the internet companies and they could say, we have reason to believe this person is guilty of something. You should let us read their emails and surveil them in real time. That's not what the government is doing. They instead are having direct access into the servers of these companies, which means there's no limitation on abuse or checks on what it is they're doing. And every time the government gets caught doing something like this, they just scream the word terrorist enough times, hoping that people will get scared enough and simply want to vest the power in the government to do whatever it is they want in the dark. And it's time that we think rationally about what these claims are and not just accept them.
Ari, what about that?
Well, number one, nobody listened in on those conversations. It was a program very similar to the one the President Obama has, except you had to have a foreign connection to it. And then they gathered broad data just like this one, so I just want to correct that. But you know, the fundamental notion of, is it good for this country if the United States government is collecting massive information in an attempt to find small numbers of individual people who could do us harm? You know, it reminds me, Anderson, of other things we've accepted in life, such as going through airports. All innocent people go through metal detectors. Innocent people take off their shoes. Why? To find an occasional one or two bad people. And frankly, we haven't had that happen in recent years. We prevented the bad people from doing it because we make the good people go through. My point is, we have broad programs designed to catch the few. When it comes to keeping us safe in the war on terror, I think the President's program, President Obama's program, is the right one, and it's a good one.
Ari, why are some Republicans who support this then not supporting the idea of, you know, if you buy a gun, having a register of who's buying a gun? I mean, that seems to be you know, too much of an intrusion, which I understand that argument of why people say that's too much of an intrusion. Why is that an intrusion, but this not?
Look, I don't know what the exact comparison is on that, and I think you have to ask that to the people who hold that point of view. Everybody has a different view on that. I'm proud on this one to defend President Obama because I think he's continuing those policies that have kept us safe.
Glenn, is it akin to the TSA taking off your shoes?
Does it really require any effort to see why it's massively, radically different to take off your shoes when you go through a metal detector versus having the government be able to troll through your private emails and listen in on your telephone conversations? The difference is obvious. We put
now President Obama is saying, though, no one's listening in on phone conversations.
Can I just finish?
Yeah.
Can I just finish? The PRISM program that we're talking about, Anderson, that I reported on, is a program in which the United States government goes directly into the servers of companies like Facebook and Skype in order to surveil in real time both text and telephone conversations. The Verizon program, which is the one that you just referenced, is a one in which the government collects all of our phone records so that they will always know with whom we're speaking, where we are when we're having those conversations. And really, the ultimate question is, we have a society, a government, that operates almost entirely in the dark while knowing virtually everything about us. And when governments can operate almost entirely in the dark, what you get is a government full of Ari Fleischers who can go before the world and spew falsehoods. There's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Saddam Hussein has an alliance with Osama bin Laden. When government officials operate in secret, they abuse their power.
Ari, I mean, abuses do seem to happen time and time again.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to make this personal. This is a good policy debate to be engaged in, and I'm proud, actually, as a Republican, to be backing what President Obama has done. And what I'm most proud of is that we now have 16 years of a bipartisan template for whoever succeeds President Obama to continue. And one of the reasons we have not suffered another 9/11 is because we are vigilant and have these important programs in place.
But all things lead to, I mean, things that are not out in the public, things that do have a veil of secrecy, can end up easily being abused. I mean, people can end up listening to phone conversation.
And that's why this is a good debate to have, and it's incumbent on the president to defend it. If you take that argument to an extreme, there should be no classified information in the government whatsoever. The military, the CIA, there should be no secrets. When the SEALs go to get bin Laden, that should be publicly reported when the helicopters take off. There is a legitimacy to government secrecy. It's how we keep ourselves safe.
Glenn, I want you to be able to comment on that, and I got one more question for you, Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, I'll find an area of agreement with Ari Fleischer, which I didn't think was possible. I think he's right that we should debate it. And the only reason we are debating it is because there was a source or sources within the United States government who saw what the government was doing, collecting all of our phone records without any evidence of wrongdoing, tapping directly into the servers of the largest internet giants and eavesdropping on those conversations with no oversight or checks of any kind, and decided that his fellow citizens should be warned about what it was that we're doing, precisely so we can have this debate. And that's why whistleblowers like that should be praised and not prosecuted, because it's what enables journalists to then shine a light on those programs so that we can have the debates that both Ari Fleischer and I agree we should be having.